Okay, so I thought I would do a piece on the moon, which is, you might think, so what really? What about the moon? I'm not interested in the bodies in space that, either we orbit around or orbit around us. Okay, here's why. The governments of America and Russia, and probably China's thinking about it, anyone with enough money is starting to treat the area around the Earth as though they own it. So we've got all those satellites circulating around. The Russians are supposedly sending satellites up that have grabbers and stuff that can tear or damage other satellites. So they'll nuzzle up against them, they'll match their speed, and then they'll rip their solar panels to shreds so they lose power and or burn up or whatever, or fling off into space, I don't know. They won't be able to adjust their location and do anything useful. Or you can damage the antennae on the satellites. Okay, but the moon. I don't know if you know this already, but the United States already, and this surprised me that they do this, but this is under Barack Obama's administration, they've sent a missile. Now they won't call it this, okay? They will not call it this, but they have sent a missile into the moon at about Mach 3, about 3 times the speed of sound or something. I think it's 2.5 to 3 times. That's what they admitted to. I mean, let's face it, you're not there, you can't check. So you're relying on somebody else who's watching, like maybe the Chinese or the Russians. Chinese don't tell anybody anything. And I don't know who else has got stuff that can look at what's happening at the moon. Now, they sent this missile crashing into the moon. Bear in mind what the moon does. It's a busy little thing on our behalf, right? The oceans are moved backwards and forwards. The tides are based on the movements of the moon. That big mass literally changes the gravitational pull of the Earth, and it is a gravitational pull, and the tides are affected, the masses of water are affected by where the moon is and how it's moving and all that. So as it revolves around the Earth, tides go out and in. Now, in a way that doesn't happen, there's certain places like in China when they did the Olympics, the Bird's Nest Stadium and that, they had algae all over the place. So the yachting events, the boating events, they had to clean this algae up. Now that's man-made. I don't care what anyone says, that is man-made crap. And that's because there's no tide. Whatever they've done, they've built a sandbar or they built an island where there wasn't one before. That algae is man-made in effect. So they've probably caused that. But that's lack of movement of water. You get stagnant ponds of water, and that's how you do it. The moon prevents that. It oxygenates the water, all the water getting roughed up in the waves and out at sea, all the waves, and the white horses you see, that's foaming water and air bubbles. That aerates the water so the fish are alive. If you don't aerate the water, the fish die. Now there'll be a lot more to it than that, but that's just the starter for 10. Fish will die. The whole lot of them. Only things that breathe on the surface and don't need the other fish. So, everything will die in the ocean eventually if you kill the moon. Send it flinging off out into orbit, smack it in half, however you do it. So the United States has already arrogantly flown a missile into it. Now they say it's not a missile, but I put this to you. The railgun, a super weapon developed by the United States, doesn't have explosive in the charge. It just uses a high-speed projectile of a certain mass. Cut long story short, bit of science, force equals mass times acceleration, or in this case, the deceleration suddenly of hitting the object at the end. A tank, a building, right? So the higher the speed and the heavier the mass that you send, the more damage it does. And you can have equivalent damage to a small atomic bomb if you send a heavy enough missile at a high enough speed and there's no explosive in it. It's just an electromagnetic pulse device to go boo and fling the projectile. Now, so that's basically, they've kind of done something like this. Now they said they were looking for minerals and stuff and they wanted to see what's beneath the surface, but the cheap way to do that is to fling an object into it that crashes into it and burrows beneath it. Basically it's a bunker buster. They've chucked a bunker buster at the moon with some devices in it that's meant to survive the impact and check the minerals. I don't know quite what that was about, but now the Russians are going to do it. They're going to look for water. So in effect, both these things are attempts to have a staging post for further transport out into space. That's what they say. Because what they're actually looking for is things like uranium, minerals that we will use, rare materials that we will run out of in the next 100 to 200 years at best. Some people say 30 years, who knows. And water and stuff. So they're basically going to mine the moon. It's not bad enough we've damaged our own environment on Earth, but they're going to mine the moon. And they're causing damage during the process. And the Russians are going to go around the back, because there's a dark side of the moon, you'll probably know. They're going to go around the back where people can't even see them. So it's in secret. What would you expect from the Russians? Tinkering with our moon? Really? They're not entitled to do that. They haven't got a mandate to do that. It's not their moon. I don't care who put a flag on it. It's not your goddamn moon. It's the Earth's moon. And whether they should be messing with that, God, they should be jailed for doing it. Without permission from the rest of the planet, which the rest of the planet wouldn't give. And there's one more thing I'll say about the moon. Yes, it moves the tides and stuff. Now, you can't tell me that it doesn't affect the molten core of the Earth. A big lump of rock that's big enough to shift the massive things like Atlantic Ocean. You can't tell me that doesn't affect the iron lump in the middle of the Earth. That molten stuff at thousands of degrees centigrade or whatever. So the very literally the core of the Earth is affected by this moon that they're mucking about with. If you think so, well, it's very far away. Yeah. Well, you wait until it gets a lot further away and see how the Earth gets on then. This is a dangerous thing that they're doing, and boy, it's arrogant to mess with it. Me, I wouldn't touch it, but I don't have the arrogance that these big countries have. Thanks for watching and listening.